The grand concert hall was filled with an air of excitement. Every seat was occupied, and the soft murmur of the crowd created a background hum that seemed to vibrate through the polished wooden floors. The chandeliers hung like sparkling gems, casting warm light that reflected off the gleaming piano in the center of the stage. The audience had come to see a celebrated pianist perform, someone whose talent was known far and wide, someone whose hands could make the piano sing with emotion that touched the very soul. People had traveled from distant towns, driven hours just to hear him play, and there was a sense of expectation that hung over the crowd like a gentle, heavy cloud. The pianist himself stood backstage, adjusting the cuff of his jacket and peering through the curtains at the audience. His eyes twinkled with mischief, a playful smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. He loved to play, of course, but he also loved moments that surprised people, moments that made them laugh, moments that became stories they would carry for years. Tonight he had something in mind that was meant to be lighthearted, a joke that he hoped would amuse the audience. The music began. The pianist's fingers danced across the keys, starting with a soft, gentle melody that seemed to float in the air, delicate as a whisper. The audience leaned in, listening with rapt attention, their eyes following every movement, every subtle shift in posture, every glance of concentration. The hall was silent except for the piano, and the sound of the music seemed to settle into the hearts of everyone present. It was beautiful, but it was also familiar. People knew his style, knew the perfection of his technique, and they appreciated the music, but their minds were still wandering just a little, expecting more of the same brilliance they had seen many times before. Then he paused. The final note hung in the air, resonating in the warm space, fading slowly. He looked at the audience, then at a woman sitting near the front. She was unassuming, dressed simply, her hands folded in her lap, her posture a little tense. She seemed out of place among the elegant, well-dressed spectators who had filled the hall with polite excitement. Yet there was something in her eyes, a quiet curiosity, a spark that made the pianist grin. In a voice that carried just enough for the front rows to hear clearly, he said, "I think we need a special guest tonight. How about we let someone else show us their skill?" The audience chuckled politely, assuming he was joking. He had a reputation for playful antics, after all. He gestured toward the woman. "You," he said, his tone teasing, "come and play for us. Don't be shy. Show us what you've got." The woman's eyes widened in surprise. Her heart began to race, and she felt a wave of panic mix with a strange, fluttering excitement. She hadn't expected to be called upon, certainly not in front of such a large and distinguished audience. She shifted in her seat, unsure of what to do. The crowd was laughing softly, thinking it was part of the entertainment, and the pianist's smile was encouraging but playful. It was a joke, they all assumed, a moment of light-hearted fun. She hesitated, her mind racing through possibilities. What if she couldn't play well? What if she embarrassed herself in front of everyone? Her hands trembled slightly, but a part of her, a quiet voice inside, told her that maybe this was her chance. A chance she hadn't imagined for herself, but one that could change everything if she dared. She took a deep breath, stood slowly, and walked toward the stage. Each step feeling heavier than the last, yet tinged with anticipation. The audience watched her, some leaning forward with curiosity, others whispering to their neighbors. The pianist clapped his hands lightly, urging her forward, his eyes filled with amusement and intrigue. He had expected her to be nervous, to maybe stumble, to provide a moment of humor for the crowd. But there was something in her presence, in the way she held herself despite her obvious fear, that made him pause for just a moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his mind. As she reached the piano, she paused again, looking down at the keys. The polished black and white notes gleamed under the stage lights, intimidating yet inviting. She rested her fingers lightly on the keys, feeling their cool surface, feeling the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. The audience quieted, sensing the tension in the room, sensing that something unusual was about to happen. The pianist stepped aside, giving her space, his playful smile replaced by genuine curiosity. He whispered something to her, encouraging, gentle. She nodded, closed her eyes for a brief second, and then opened them, ready. She took a deep breath, and the first note rang out. It was soft at first, hesitant, yet it held a clarity that made the audience lean in, unsure of what to expect. The second note followed, then the third, each one more confident than the last. Her fingers moved with grace, her posture relaxed as she found her rhythm. The music began to flow naturally, a melody that was both beautiful and surprising. It was as if the piano had been waiting for her, as if the hall itself recognized the presence of a hidden talent finally emerging. The audience's laughter and whispers faded, replaced by a stunned silence. They were listening, truly listening, as the woman's hands brought the piano to life. Each note seemed to carry a story, each chord a burst of emotion that filled the hall. The pianist watched, his eyes wide, his hands lightly tapping the edge of the piano in astonishment. The joke he had intended had disappeared entirely, replaced by a moment of sheer magic that no one had anticipated. She continued to play, her confidence growing with each passing measure. The notes flowed seamlessly, delicate yet powerful, soft yet full of intensity. Her fingers moved with precision, yet there was a warmth, a human touch in every sound she produced. The audience was captivated, unable to look away, unable to breathe fully, caught in the unexpected brilliance of a performance that seemed to come from nowhere. The pianist realized he had underestimated her. This was not a simple amateur playing for fun. This was someone who had a deep connection to music, someone whose talent had been hidden until this very moment. His heart swelled with admiration and a quiet smile crept back across his face. The joke was gone, replaced by awe, respect, and a sense of wonder that he hadn't felt in a long time. As the music continued, the audience began to lean closer, their eyes wide with amazement. Whispers of astonishment spread like wildfire, though no one dared to interrupt the spell that had been cast. Some people's hands rested on their chests as if to feel the rhythm of the music in their own hearts. Others closed their eyes, letting the sound wash over them, carrying them away from the formalities of the concert hall and into a world of pure emotion. Time seemed to slow. The pianist, who had been the star of the evening, now stood silently, his hands clasped, watching this woman transform the stage with her talent. He had come to entertain, to dazzle, and to play his part in a well-rehearsed performance, yet here was something far more powerful than he had ever imagined. The audience, too, was caught in this unexpected spell, realizing that what they thought would be a playful joke had become a moment of genuine magic. The woman played on, fully immersed, unaware of the shifting energy around her. She was no longer nervous. She was alive in the music, her fingers telling stories, her eyes shining with focus and joy. The hall itself seemed to respond, the acoustics amplifying the depth of her performance, every note resonating in every corner, touching everyone in ways words could never describe. The first part of her performance ended, though the echoes lingered. The audience remained quiet, as if in a trance, processing what they had just witnessed. The pianist approached her slowly, his earlier amusement replaced by deep respect. He nodded, acknowledging her skill, his eyes reflecting the admiration he felt. This was no longer a joke, no longer a playful moment. This was a revelation, a glimpse into the extraordinary hidden in the most ordinary places, a reminder that talent and passion often appear when least expected. The first part of the evening had set the tone for what would become an unforgettable night. The audience sat in stunned silence, the woman's performance leaving an indelible mark on their hearts. The joke had transformed into a moment of awe, and everyone present understood that they had witnessed something truly special, a story that would be told again and again. The concert hall, once filled with polite applause and quiet murmurs, now vibrated with anticipation for what was yet to come. The woman sat at the piano, her hands poised over the keys, and the air in the concert hall felt heavier yet alive, as though everyone was holding their breath together. The first part of her performance had ended, leaving the audience stunned, but she was far from finished. She looked at the pianist briefly, a silent exchange passing between them, an acknowledgement of surprise, admiration, and unspoken encouragement. He nodded slightly, stepping back and giving her the space she now deserved. The spotlight was entirely hers, and she embraced it with a quiet, determined focus. She began to play again, this time with more confidence. Her fingers moved fluidly, producing a melody that was both tender and strong. The notes flowed effortlessly, weaving stories of joy, sorrow, longing, and hope. Each chord seemed to have been carefully chosen, each pause deliberate, drawing the audience deeper into her world. The pianist, who had thought he knew every corner of the piano's possibilities, watched in amazement. He had heard many talented musicians, but there was a rare quality in her performance that he had not encountered before. It was not just skill. It was emotion, storytelling, and a connection to the music that felt alive and genuine. The audience leaned forward, captivated. Eyes were wide, mouths slightly open, as if they could not quite believe what they were hearing. It was one thing to hear someone play a well-known piece expertly. It was another entirely to feel the music, as if it were speaking directly to your heart. Every note seemed to resonate with the listener's own experiences and emotions, making the performance intimate and deeply moving. Some held their hands over their hearts, others closed their eyes, letting the music carry them away from the hall and into their own memories and feelings. As she continued, it became clear that she was not merely playing the piano, she was telling a story. The melody shifted effortlessly from soft, melancholic passages to powerful, triumphant moments, like waves rising and falling on a shore. Her movements were precise yet natural, as if the piano itself had become an extension of her body, responding to her thoughts and emotions in real time. The audience, completely entranced, forgot to breathe, caught in the spell of a performance that was as unexpected as it was breathtaking. The pianist could no longer hide his astonishment. He had intended to create a lighthearted moment, a playful joke to entertain the audience, but it had transformed into something extraordinary. He could see the skill in her hands, the dedication in her posture, and the depth of understanding in her expression. This was not a casual player or a lucky amateur. This was someone who had devoted herself to music in ways that were both quiet and powerful. He found himself forgetting his role as the master performer, and instead simply became a witness to her talent. Her performance continued to evolve. She began to experiment with dynamics, creating contrast that added layers of complexity and richness to the music. The soft passages whispered like secrets. The louder sections roared like storms, and in every moment there was a sense of storytelling that transcended words. The audience was captivated not only by her technical skill, but by the way she made the piano speak with life, feeling, and nuance. They were witnessing a rare and remarkable event, the kind of performance that would be remembered for years, long after the music had faded. Some members of the audience exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and admiration. They whispered quietly to each other, unable to contain their amazement yet careful not to disturb the performance. It was a shared experience, a moment of collective awe that connected everyone in the hall, binding them together in the presence of something profoundly beautiful. The woman at the piano had taken the stage by chance, but she was commanding it with grace, skill, and a quiet authority that demanded attention and respect. The pianist, who had initially invited her up as a joke, could not help but smile. He had seen many performances, but this one felt different. There was a purity in her playing, a sincerity that could not be taught or imitated. He began to tap his foot lightly, keeping time with the rhythm, drawn into the music himself. In some ways, he felt as though he were learning from her, discovering new possibilities in the piano that he had never considered. The roles had shifted subtly. The joke had vanished, replaced by genuine admiration, curiosity, and even a little humility. She did not seem aware of the effect she was having on the audience or the pianist. She was lost in the music, fully immersed in the act of creation. Every note was deliberate, every phrase meaningful, and every chord seemed to reflect a part of her story, her experiences, her emotions. It was a performance that spoke to the human heart, reminding everyone present of the power of art to connect, to inspire, and to transform. As the performance reached its climax, the intensity of the music rose. Her fingers flew over the keys with precision and passion, building layers of sound that filled the hall with a rich, vibrant resonance. The audience held its collective breath, caught in the emotional current of the music, feeling every rise and fall, every whisper and roar. The pianist watched in awe, recognizing that he was witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime moment, something that transcended skill and entered the realm of true artistry. The final notes approached, and she slowed, bringing the melody to a gentle, reflective conclusion. The silence that followed was profound, a moment in which the audience and the pianist alike were suspended in admiration and disbelief. The music had ended, but its impact lingered, echoing in the hearts and minds of everyone present. It was a moment of shared wonder, a testament to the unexpected brilliance that can emerge when least anticipated. The audience erupted into applause, but it was more than the polite clapping one might expect at a concert. It was genuine, heartfelt, and sustained. People stood cheering, some even wiping tears from their eyes, unable to contain the emotions stirred by the performance. The pianist stepped forward, applauding loudly, his smile broad and sincere. He had intended to create a playful joke, but instead, he had witnessed something extraordinary, something that would be remembered long after the night ended. The woman stood, slightly trembling but smiling, acknowledging the audience's applause with a humble nod. She had been nervous, uncertain of herself just moments ago, but now she felt a quiet pride and exhilaration. She had shared her talent with the world, and the world had responded with awe and respect. The experience was transformative, a confirmation of her abilities and a reminder that courage and preparation could lead to moments of unexpected brilliance. The pianist approached her, extending a hand and offering words of admiration. He praised her skill, her emotion, and the way she had captivated the audience. There was no teasing now, no playful joke, only sincere recognition. They shared a moment of mutual respect, a silent understanding that something remarkable had occurred. The audience continued to cheer, some still rising to their feet, creating a wave of sound and energy that seemed to fill every corner of the hall. As the applause gradually subsided, the pianist whispered to her again, this time with genuine curiosity, asking how long she had been playing and what had inspired her. She shared briefly, her words humble but revealing the dedication and love she had for music. It was clear that she had worked tirelessly, honing her skills in private, away from the spotlight, preparing for moments she never imagined would come. The pianist listened intently, amazed at her humility and the depth of her commitment. The first part of the evening had set the stage, but the second part, her performance, had transformed it into something unforgettable. The audience had been treated to a rare gift, a moment of pure artistry that reminded them of the power of talent, passion, and courage. It was a story of surprise and discovery, a lesson that brilliance can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that even a playful joke can reveal the extraordinary hidden within an ordinary person. The hall slowly quieted, the audience still murmuring in awe. The woman stepped back from the piano, taking a moment to breathe, to absorb the experience she had just created. She had faced fear and uncertainty, and in doing so had shown the world a glimpse of her extraordinary talent. The pianist, watching her, felt a renewed sense of wonder and inspiration. He had planned a joke, but life had given him a gift instead, and he would never forget this night. As the lights dimmed slightly, signaling a brief interlude, the audience continued to buzz with excitement. Conversations whispered through the rows, people sharing their astonishment and admiration, recounting the details of the performance and marveling at the unexpected turn of events. The woman, still standing near the piano, allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. She had stepped onto the stage without knowing what would happen, and yet she had left an indelible mark on everyone present. The evening had begun with expectations of skill and charm, but it had become a testament to courage, talent, and the magic that can happen when someone dares to step into the spotlight. The audience remained in a state of quiet amazement, the kind that comes when something unexpectedly beautiful captures the heart and mind. The woman had just delivered a performance that left everyone breathless, and yet she was not done. She sat back down at the piano, her eyes focused, her fingers lightly touching the keys as if testing the air, feeling for the next wave of music that was about to pour forth. There was a sense of anticipation now, heavier and more intense than before, because everyone knew they were about to witness something remarkable, something that could not have been predicted. The pianist, who had intended to create a playful moment, stood a few steps back, watching her intently. His expression had shifted from curiosity to admiration and now to wonder. He had been in countless concerts, played for audiences around the world, and yet this moment felt different. The humor of the situation had vanished, replaced by a serious recognition of talent that was raw, real, and powerful. He wondered how someone who had been called up as a joke could hold such mastery, such control, and such expressive power at the piano. She began to play again, this time choosing a piece that required both skill and emotional depth. The notes flowed with elegance and precision, yet each one carried a subtle weight, a hidden story that only a few could understand. The audience leaned forward, unable to look away, mesmerized by the seamless combination of technique and emotion. Some people held their hands over their hearts, some closed their eyes, letting the music guide them to places they hadn't visited in years. The hall seemed to shrink around her, focusing all attention on the delicate dance of fingers and keys. The pianist moved slightly closer, almost unconsciously drawn toward the sound. He had played many complex pieces himself, but there was a quality in her playing that was unlike anything he had encountered before. It was not only the accuracy, the speed, or the clarity, though all of these were flawless. It was something more, something invisible but tangible, that made the music feel alive. Every chord was deliberate, every passage intentional, and yet it flowed effortlessly, as if the piano itself recognized her presence and responded to her touch. As she played, she began to explore dynamics that were both subtle and bold. The softest notes whispered secrets, delicate and fragile, while sudden bursts of intensity filled the hall with energy that made the audience sit up straighter, hearts racing in unison with the music. She moved through the piano with confidence, her hands gliding across the keys like water over smooth stones, finding both the calm and the storm within the instrument. The effect on the audience was immediate and profound. They were no longer passive observers but active participants in an emotional journey, carried along by the currents of her playing. Whispers of admiration began to ripple through the crowd. People turned to each other, eyes wide, mouths slightly open in disbelief. It was hard to imagine that this woman, called upon in jest, could produce music so powerful, so nuanced, so deeply moving. Every phrase she played seemed to hold a story, and the audience found themselves searching for the meaning behind the notes, feeling the emotions that were poured into each measure. Even those who had never been particularly moved by piano music felt something stirring within them, a mixture of surprise, awe, and pure emotional resonance. The pianist was no exception. He watched her, mesmerized, realizing that the joke he had intended had become irrelevant. This was no longer a playful diversion. It was a genuine showcase of extraordinary talent. He could see the dedication behind each movement, the countless hours of practice that had gone unnoticed until this very moment. His own heart beat faster, inspired by her skill, moved by her expressiveness, and humbled by the realization that he had underestimated what she was capable of. In that instant, the audience and the pianist were unified, drawn together by the sheer force of her performance. As she continued, she introduced subtle variations into the melody, improvising in a way that felt natural and effortless. It was clear that she had not simply memorized the pieces, she was interpreting them, making them her own. Every chord carried intention, every pause had meaning, and every crescendo seemed to rise from her very soul. The audience was captivated, hanging on each note, feeling a mixture of anticipation and reverence. It was as though time had slowed, as though the hall had been transformed into a sacred space where music spoke louder than words ever could. The woman's eyes occasionally met the pianist's, and in those brief moments a silent conversation passed between them. He nodded once, acknowledging her talent and her courage, while she offered a small, humble smile, barely noticeable but filled with gratitude. The audience, sensing the connection, felt it too, as if they were witnessing not just a performance but a dialogue between two musicians, one experienced and one unexpectedly brilliant. It was a rare, delicate moment that added another layer of depth to the already mesmerizing music. She explored the piano with increasing intensity, her fingers flying over the keys in a display of technical mastery that was matched only by her emotional expression. The audience gasped at the speed and precision, yet it never felt mechanical. Every note had a purpose, every transition a meaning. The energy in the hall built steadily, as if the music were a living entity, growing stronger with each passing second. People were leaning forward, holding their breath, some with tears glistening in their eyes, moved by the beauty and power of what they were hearing. The pianist, inspired by her courage and skill, found himself smiling wider. He had called her up as a joke, expecting laughter and a light-hearted moment, but he had been given something far greater, a reminder of the unpredictable nature of talent, of the hidden depths within ordinary people, and of the magic that could emerge when someone dared to step into the light. He was no longer in control of the performance. He was a witness, an admirer, and a learner, humbled by the extraordinary moment unfolding before him. Her performance reached a section of profound emotion, where the music became softer, more introspective. The audience held its collective breath, sensing the change, feeling the fragility and delicacy in every note. It was a quiet storm, a gentle wave of emotion that swept over the hall and left everyone momentarily suspended in awe. The pianist felt a lump in his throat, moved by the depth and sincerity of her expression, realizing that he had underestimated not only her talent, but her ability to convey feelings through music so powerfully. Then, without warning, she shifted again, the music rising with dramatic intensity. The sound filled every corner of the hall, reverberating off the walls and ceilings, creating a wave of energy that seemed almost tangible. The audience gasped collectively, some leaning forward, some gripping the edges of their seats, caught in the unstoppable current of sound and emotion. The woman's fingers moved with precision and passion, orchestrating a complex, powerful finale that left no one untouched. The pianist could hardly believe his eyes, watching as she turned a joke into an unforgettable musical statement. The final notes approached, and she gradually brought the piece to a gentle, reflective close. The silence that followed was profound, almost sacred. The audience sat in stunned admiration, processing the experience they had just shared. The pianist stepped forward, clapping slowly at first, then with increasing intensity, joined by the audience who rose to their feet in a spontaneous standing ovation. The applause was deafening, filled with genuine admiration, appreciation, and awe. It was not polite or expected. It was heartfelt and sincere. The woman stood slightly trembling, her smile quiet but radiant. She had faced fear and uncertainty, and had transformed it into a performance that would linger in the memories of everyone present. She had taken a risk, and it had paid off in ways that no one, not even the pianist, could have anticipated. The audience continued to cheer, their excitement and admiration spilling into the room like a living wave. People clapped, whistled, and some even cried, moved by the beauty and power of the music. The pianist approached her, his expression full of respect and genuine admiration. He offered words of praise, acknowledging her talent, her courage, and the emotional depth she had brought to the performance. There was no teasing, no humor, only sincere recognition of something extraordinary. The woman accepted his compliments with grace, her humility shining through even in the midst of such overwhelming praise. Their exchange was brief but meaningful, a silent acknowledgement of a shared love for music and a rare, unforgettable connection forged on the stage. As the audience gradually settled, still murmuring in awe, the woman allowed herself to take a moment to breathe and absorb the significance of what had just happened. She had transformed a moment meant for laughter into an unforgettable showcase of skill, emotion, and artistry. The concert hall seemed to hum with the energy of her performance, the memory of each note lingering in the air, in the hearts of everyone who had witnessed it. The first two parts of the evening had been magical, but the third part, her full emergence as a musician in her own right, had solidified the experience as something truly unforgettable. It was a reminder that talent can appear when least expected, that courage can transform fear into brilliance, and that even a playful joke can reveal the extraordinary hidden within ordinary moments. The pianist, the audience, and the woman herself would all carry the memory of this performance for the rest of their lives, a testament to the power of music, surprise, and human courage. The applause continued to echo through the concert hall, reverberating against the walls and filling every corner. The woman stood at the piano, her hands trembling slightly, but her face glowed with quiet satisfaction. She had faced the impossible and transformed it into a moment of sheer brilliance. The pianist approached her, his steps measured, his eyes full of admiration. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the music having spoken louder than any words could. He extended his hand, and she shook it with a firm but modest grip, an acknowledgement of mutual respect and understanding. The audience was still clapping, some people on their feet, some shouting words of encouragement and amazement. Cameras flashed and whispers filled the air, everyone eager to capture and share the moment they had just witnessed. The woman allowed herself a brief bow, her humility evident even as the crowd showered her with praise. The pianist gestured for her to take a seat again, and she complied, ready to continue the performance, though the initial fear had long melted into determination and focus. She was no longer nervous. She was alive in the music, in the moment, and in the power of her own talent. She began to play again, this time selecting a piece that was both intricate and expressive, something that demanded not just technical skill, but also emotional depth. Her fingers glided over the keys with precision and grace, producing sounds that were rich, full, and hauntingly beautiful. Each chord seemed to tell a story, each note carrying emotion that reached every listener in the hall. The audience leaned forward, captivated, unable to look away. There was a sense of collective awe, a shared experience that connected everyone through the magic of music. The pianist watched intently, his earlier surprise now transformed into pure admiration. He had expected a joke, a playful moment, perhaps a laugh or a light-hearted applause, but what he had witnessed was far beyond anything he had anticipated. This woman, called to the stage in jest, had revealed a talent so extraordinary that it left everyone, including him, speechless. Her playing was not just skilled, it was inspired. She had a unique way of interpreting the music, a personal touch that made every note meaningful and every phrase captivating. As she continued, the audience became more and more absorbed. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, feeling emotions they had not felt in years. Others sat in stunned silence, unable to believe the transformation that had taken place before their very eyes. The pianist himself felt a sense of humility, realizing that even as an accomplished musician, there were levels of artistry and passion that could still surprise him. He had come to the stage expecting to entertain, and yet he had been reminded of the limitless potential of human talent and dedication. Her performance was not only technically perfect but also deeply expressive. She played with dynamics that shifted seamlessly, from the softest whispers to powerful resonant chords that filled the hall with energy. The music rose and fell like a wave, carrying the audience along on a journey of emotion and imagination. Each phrase was deliberate, each note infused with meaning, yet the flow was effortless, as if the piano had become an extension of her own body and soul. The audience was captivated, their hearts and minds fully engaged, experiencing something rare and unforgettable. The pianist, standing near the side of the stage, could not help but be moved. He had performed for countless audiences, played in grand halls and famous venues, yet this moment felt uniquely powerful. The woman had taken what was intended as a joke and transformed it into an unforgettable showcase of talent, courage, and artistry. He found himself learning from her, inspired by the way she connected with the piano and with the audience, and humbled by the realization that true talent could emerge in the most unexpected moments. As she continued, she began to improvise, weaving her own ideas into the piece she had chosen. The audience listened with bated breath, completely absorbed in the unexpected creativity unfolding before them. There was a sense of spontaneity, of originality that made the performance even more remarkable. Each note, each chord, each pause was intentional yet fresh, and the audience could sense the authenticity in every sound. It was a performance that transcended mere technical skill. It was art in its purest form, a reflection of the woman's passion, dedication, and innate musicality. The pianist stepped closer, almost unconsciously drawn to the energy and emotion of her playing. He had anticipated humor, perhaps a small mistake or a light-hearted moment, but instead, he was witnessing something profound. The music was alive, vibrant, and filled with feeling. It was clear that she had spent countless hours practicing, perfecting and understanding her instrument, but more than that, she had a natural ability to express herself through the piano in a way that few ever achieve. Her performance was both a gift and a revelation. The audience was completely captivated. They leaned forward, some whispering in awe to each other, some silently shedding tears, all absorbed in the magic of the moment. There was a sense of collective admiration, a shared recognition of something extraordinary unfolding before them. The woman's fingers danced over the keys, producing sounds that were at once delicate and powerful, intimate and grand. Each note seemed to resonate with the hearts of the listeners, reaching deep into their emotions and leaving an indelible impression. The pianist watched, fascinated and humbled. He had expected to amuse the audience, to create a light-hearted interlude, but he had been given a lesson in humility, talent, and the unpredictable beauty of human potential. The woman's playing reminded him that artistry was not measured by reputation alone, but by the courage to step forward, the dedication to craft, and the ability to convey genuine emotion through performance. He felt a deep respect for her, a recognition of the hours of practice, the quiet determination, and the talent that had brought her to this extraordinary moment. She reached the climax of the piece, and the music surged with intensity. Her fingers moved rapidly, yet with perfect control, creating a sound that was both complex and harmonious. The audience was on the edge of their seats, completely absorbed, their hearts racing in rhythm with the music. The energy in the hall was electric, a palpable sense of awe and wonder that filled every corner. The pianist stood silently, clapping along instinctively, caught up in the brilliance of her performance. Then, just as suddenly, the music softened. She transitioned into a gentle, reflective ending, allowing each note to linger, giving the audience time to absorb the beauty and emotion of what they had just heard. The silence that followed was profound, almost reverent. The audience sat in stunned admiration, caught between disbelief and appreciation. The pianist moved closer, nodding in acknowledgement and respect, recognizing the extraordinary gift they had all just experienced. The applause began slowly at first, then grew into a powerful wave of sound. People rose to their feet, clapping and cheering, some shouting words of admiration and awe. The woman took a humble bow, smiling yet clearly touched by the overwhelming response. The pianist joined her, clapping and nodding, his own admiration evident. The moment had shifted from a joke to a celebration of talent, courage, and human creativity. After the applause subsided, the pianist spoke quietly to her, praising her skill, her emotional depth, and the impact she had on the audience. She listened humbly, responding with gratitude and modesty. The audience continued to murmur excitedly, sharing their astonishment and admiration with each other. The woman had taken a chance, stepped into the spotlight, and transformed what was meant to be a playful moment into a performance that would be remembered for years. The pianist invited her to join him for the remainder of the concert, suggesting that they play together in a few pieces. She accepted, and the audience erupted in further applause, thrilled at the unexpected collaboration. The woman had not only proven her talent but had inspired everyone present, including the celebrated pianist himself. The evening had become more than a concert. It was a story of courage, talent, and the transformative power of music. As they prepared to play together, the woman felt a sense of calm and purpose. She had faced her fears, shared her talent, and earned the respect of an entire audience. The pianist, now fully engaged, looked at her with respect and admiration, knowing that this unexpected moment had become one of the most memorable of his career. The hall was filled with anticipation, the audience eager to witness the next chapter of this extraordinary evening. The story of this performance, from a playful joke to a display of extraordinary talent, was already beginning to spread in the minds and hearts of everyone present. It was a reminder that brilliance can emerge when least expected, that courage can transform fear into art, and that even the most ordinary moments can hold the potential for something truly remarkable. The woman's journey on stage was a testament to the power of preparation, dedication, and the willingness to step into the spotlight. No matter the circumstances, as the concert continued, the audience remained captivated, eager to see what would unfold next. The woman had left an indelible mark, not only through her performance but through the example she set. That talent, when paired with courage and humility, can move people in ways words alone cannot. The pianist, the audience, and the woman herself would carry the memory of this night for the rest of their lives, a shared experience of unexpected brilliance that none would ever forget. The applause had died down, but the energy in the concert hall was still electric. People whispered to one another, reliving the moments they had just witnessed, unable to believe that a playful joke had turned into something so profound. The woman stood near the piano, her hands still resting lightly on the keys, a gentle smile on her face. She had faced the fear, embraced the spotlight, and transformed it into an unforgettable moment that would linger in the memories of everyone present. The pianist approached her again, a quiet respect evident in his gaze. He had watched her grow in confidence and skill before the audience, and now he wanted to acknowledge her fully. He spoke softly, words of genuine admiration flowing easily. He praised her for her skill, her courage, and the way she had captured the hearts of the audience. She listened humbly, nodding slightly, feeling a mix of pride, relief, and deep joy. It had been an unexpected journey from the moment she had been called to the stage, and now she understood just how far courage, preparation, and talent could carry her. The audience continued to murmur excitedly, some clapping quietly, some whispering in amazement, still trying to process what they had witnessed. The pianist suggested they play a piece together, and the woman agreed. The audience erupted again, thrilled at the idea of seeing the two musicians share the stage. They seated themselves at the piano, her on the right, him on the left, and began a duet that seamlessly blended their styles. She followed his lead with confidence, her fingers dancing across the keys with skill and poise, complementing his every movement. The music was harmonious, a perfect blend of experience and fresh talent, showing how two musicians could communicate without words. creating beauty that was felt deeply by all present. As they played, the audience became completely absorbed once more. The sound filled the hall, echoing off the walls and creating a resonance that seemed to touch the very hearts of everyone in attendance. Each note, each chord, each pause was felt by the listeners, who were no longer simply spectators but participants in a shared emotional journey. The woman's initial fear had completely transformed into mastery, her playing now confident, expressive, and commanding. The pianist looked at her occasionally, a small smile of admiration on his face, as he marveled at how far she had come in just a few short moments. The performance grew in complexity, the two musicians weaving intricate melodies together with effortless grace. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, each responding to the other's cues, creating a dialogue of sound that spoke louder than words ever could. The audience was captivated, leaning forward in their seats, some closing their eyes to fully absorb the music, others gripping the edges of the chairs in anticipation. It was a display of artistry, talent, and courage that no one had expected, a moment that would become a story retold for years to come. The pianist could feel a sense of pride and joy in being a part of this unexpected journey. He had intended to create a playful moment, a joke to entertain the crowd, but he had been given something far more meaningful, a reminder of the unpredictable nature of talent and the beauty that can emerge when someone dares to step into the spotlight. He watched as the woman played with increasing confidence, her face glowing with the satisfaction of someone who had discovered her own potential in a way that was both exhilarating and deeply fulfilling. The music reached a climax, both powerful and intricate, showcasing the full range of emotion and skill from both performers. The audience responded instinctively, leaning in, holding their breath, and then erupting into applause as the final notes rang out. The hall was alive with energy, a collective acknowledgement of the extraordinary talent and bravery that had been displayed on stage. The woman allowed herself a deep breath, feeling the weight and joy of the moment, knowing that she had transformed a simple joke into an unforgettable experience. As the applause continued, the pianist gestured to the woman to take a bow, and she did so with grace and humility. The audience rose to their feet, cheering, clapping, and some even shouting words of admiration. Cameras flashed, capturing the historic moment as the audience expressed their appreciation for the unexpected brilliance that had unfolded before them. The woman smiled, slightly overwhelmed but deeply grateful for the recognition and support. She had not only faced her fears but had inspired everyone in the room, including the celebrated pianist himself. After the standing ovation, the pianist spoke briefly to the audience, praising the woman's talent and courage. He explained that she had been called to the stage as a joke, but her performance had turned the evening into something extraordinary. The audience responded with renewed applause, their admiration and amazement palpable. The woman listened quietly, her heart full of gratitude and pride. She had stepped into a moment she could never have imagined, and had turned it into a defining experience, one that would shape her future and the way she viewed herself as a musician. The concert continued, but the impact of her performance lingered in the hearts of everyone present. Conversations buzzed with excitement and astonishment, as people shared their impressions and relived the moments that had moved them most. The woman felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that she had not only proven her talent but had also shown what courage, preparation, and passion could achieve. The pianist remained by her side, occasionally smiling at her, his own admiration and respect evident. Together they had created something beautiful, something that transcended expectations and left a lasting impression on the audience. As the night drew to a close, the woman was approached by several audience members, each expressing their admiration and gratitude for the performance. Some shared how deeply the music had moved them, others asked questions about her technique and preparation, and a few simply offered kind words of encouragement. She responded with humility and grace, acknowledging the support and expressing her own gratitude for the opportunity to share her music. The pianist stood nearby, listening, smiling, and offering his own praise, recognizing the rare combination of skill and courage that had defined the evening. Backstage, the woman reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. She remembered the fear she had felt when first called to the stage, the uncertainty of stepping into the spotlight, and the self-doubt that had threatened to hold her back. Yet through preparation, focus, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected, she had transformed fear into a performance that left everyone, including herself, amazed. The experience had changed her, giving her confidence, clarity, and a renewed sense of purpose. She realized that moments of opportunity often arrive unexpectedly, and that courage and talent, when combined, can create experiences that leave a lasting impact. The pianist joined her backstage, offering congratulations once more, and sharing his own reflections on the performance. He admitted that he had not expected such brilliance, and yet he had witnessed it firsthand. They spoke briefly about the future, the potential for collaboration, and the shared understanding that something remarkable had occurred. The experience had not only inspired the audience, but had also left a profound mark on both musicians, creating a bond that would endure long after the concert ended. As the audience filed out of the concert hall, they carried with them the memory of an extraordinary evening. Many would tell the story to friends and family, recounting the surprise, the talent, and the courage of the woman who had transformed a playful joke into a moment of breathtaking artistry. The pianist himself would share the tale, reflecting on the lesson he had learned, that brilliance can emerge unexpectedly, that courage can transform fear into art, and that human potential is often greater than we imagine. In the days and weeks that followed, the story of the performance spread. People spoke of the woman's talent and humility, the unexpected magic of the concert, and the lasting impression it had left. Opportunities began to open for her, invitations to perform and chances to collaborate with other musicians. Yet through it all, she remained humble, grateful for the experience and aware of the journey that had brought her there. She had stepped into the spotlight, faced the fear, and emerged not only as a remarkable musician, but as a symbol of courage and potential. The concert hall itself became a symbol of the unexpected magic that can occur when preparation meets opportunity. Those who had attended left inspired, carrying with them the memory of a night when a simple joke revealed extraordinary talent. The pianist, once the instigator of the playful moment, now cherished the memory as one of the most extraordinary experiences of his career. And the woman, whose courage and skill had captivated the audience, realized that she had discovered not only her own abilities, but also the power of stepping forward, embracing fear and transforming it into something truly remarkable. In the end, the story of that night became more than just a concert. It became a lesson in courage, talent, and the unexpected beauty that can arise from even the simplest beginnings. The woman's performance would be remembered for years, inspiring others to embrace opportunity, to trust in their own abilities, and to step into the spotlight when called upon. And the pianist, who had intended a joke, discovered the profound truth that sometimes the most extraordinary moments in life are the ones we least expect, and that the power of human talent and courage can leave an audience, and even seasoned performers, completely speechless.